Welcome into another episode of Queen City News Plus. I'm Queen City News Now anchor Julian Sadur. You can catch us Monday through Friday, 4 to 10 a.m. And I have a cast of characters today. I have Mark Jerrell Chair of the Mecklenburg Board of County Commissioners. We have Stephanie Sneed Chair of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Board of Education. We have our Mayor Pro Tem, Danté, in the house. We have Danté Anderson. We appreciate all of you being here. But the big reason why is because we have something very special coming up. Talk about the acronym EAST. I'm not even going to spell it out for them. I'm going to let you guys do the work. What is EAST for people who haven't heard about it?
EAST is our third annual Eastside Summit. It's an intergovernmental summit. The acronym stands for Education, Affordable Housing. We have support services and safety. And obviously, a conversation that people have been talking about right now is transit and transportation. So we're going to really dig deep and looking forward to the discussion.
So talk about, one, the need for this, because obviously we're in a time right now where there's a lot of worry. But let's just call it a spade a spade. There's a lot of worry about lack of resources coming down from the federal level. A lot of people forget that your county has a lot of things you need. So how does this event kind of give some resources to people saying, okay, what's going on? Where can I get something I need?
Absolutely. Well, there's that old saying that all politics are local.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in this case, it's extremely true, right? So we have so many services, which is why we highlighted that S in support services as well as safety. But there's so many services between the Board of County Commissioners, the city, and of course, CMS. So we're going to have 18 different tables that are resource tables, as well as outside for the first time, although this is our third annual Intergovernmental Summit. This is our first annual resource fair that will complement what we're doing inside. So outside, we're going to have services like Gus the Bus. We're going to have the Mecklenburg Library Digital Lab. That's a mobile lab as well as dental mobile lab, other resources as well that will all be free. They're available for Eastside residents. So it really will be a great time. And it's a good time to identify what services can you partake of. You might have a family member or you might have a senior in your family that might need to know how to navigate some things. There'll be opportunities there for them as well.
And I do want to get into sometimes the community's reticence to go ahead and trust government and take up some of those services. But Stephanie, I want to come to you because there's an educational component of this as well. Can you speak to the educational component that we're to see out there?
Sure, most definitely. But I do want to just take a moment to say, in regards to what both of my colleagues have touched on here, is that this summit is important and unique because what we find most of the time, especially in our climate, people want to be heard, right? So you can see there are calls for individuals, our elected officials, to have town halls. But really, I don't think that's the cusp of what people want. They want us to hear what they need. And so that is the very unique thing about our Intergovernmental Summit in the third year of it, is that we collect information from them. It's not us talking most of the time. It's the constituents talking. So that is something very unique in that we take that information back, and then that's how we deliver as elected officials to our communities.
Well, if we want to go right there, let's get into it then. What are we hearing from the community? Because I feel like so many times, and this is the beauty of this format here, so many times we're stuck with a minute 30 news story, right? We get a soundbite from one of you out there, and that's all they're going to hear from their elected official is a 15 seconds that runs on the news. So open up the floor, whoever wants to take it. What are you all hearing from the community? Because this is a chance to speak freely. What are we hearing?
Well, I think, we're hearing a lot from the community, but not hearing enough as well. So, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. So one of the things that we do is we have the community tell us their priorities. And so they have told us that education is important, affordable housing is important, safety is important, transit is important. And so we have those things prioritized. They've also told us that they want us to work together. So the community does not believe in governmental entities working in silos. That is, Julian, frankly, that's so 2002, it's like, that's long gone. That's past. And so we know that they want us to work together. They're looking for initiatives, and those are their priorities. And so we're trying to address those things.
what can you guys do? Because I was talking about, I wanted to get into the reticence of, maybe the community to trust government and to come out and take advantage of some of these things as you're looking for people to give feedback. Has the mood changed at all? I mean, in terms of people being willing to come forward to government and say, I'm going to trust you with what I'm dealing with and trust you guys to actually make some change?
Mm-hmm. I think so, but it takes more than just one interaction.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I found is, and Stephanie's absolutely right that everyone wants to be heard, right? And so they actually have typically a lot of residents have pent up energy and angst about a particular issue or two. And if you just sit there and listen and allow them to get it out and acknowledge what they're saying, acknowledge that you hear them, acknowledge that it's a challenge and we're willing to work together, not only as a council, but intergovernmentally with the school board and with the county, then you begin to see some relaxing, right? Some relaxing of the shoulders, some exhales, and then you have an opportunity to work together. And I think that's when they lean in more. The fact that this is our third annual summit of working together, I think speaks volumes. We've been able to do lots of things intergovernmentally. We're doing lots of things now that we didn't necessarily do 3 years ago. And I'd even go out and venture to say that the three of us coming together intergovernmentally has promoted the whole concept of, hey, we might need to talk to our colleagues we're all in the same building, but we might need to talk to our colleagues that are on different floors.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
How can we work together to address the unhoused opportunity? How can we bring up more workforce development opportunities? So I think you're seeing that more now. And I think we've been sort of the champions of that, of our three bodies.
And I just want to say the very unique thing about it is that the question you talked about is how do we build that trust?
Right.
Because every year we come back and we showed what we've done and how we've delivered. Right. And sometimes when we have these conversations, when we're preparing for the next summit, okay, we may need to do a little more work in some areas. Or we may need to find out, is the post still the same? Are the same things important to individuals? Now, being on the board of education, I'm going to say every year, the top thing is going to be education, right?
Right.
Everyone.
We're so shocked.
Yeah. Everyone knows that education is the glue that holds this whole thing together.
The E starts with E, big E.
Yes,
there it is.
Starts with a big E.
Julian, I think the county is what holds this thing together, but we'll go with E. We'll go with education if that's where we want to go.
It starts with E.
Okay. All right.
I do want to ask, speaking of in terms of redevelopment here in the area, obviously this is a huge thing. As we take a look here at the former Eastland Mall site, talk about how big this is for the community. What is this going to do in terms of injecting some good energy here and also giving people a place to go to?
I know the mayor pro tem wants to jump in right here, so I'm gonna let him. But I'm gonna piggyback on this, because again, the county is front and center.
Here it goes.
Yep, absolutely, intergovernmentally. But I'm a Charlotte native, born and raised. So going to Eastland Mall as a kid was an activity. That's what you did on a Saturday, right? Your parents gave you some money and you went to the mall, and so that site was just an activity hub of not only of the East Side, but of the city and also the region. So being able to bring something like this to this site that's going to drive traffic, that's going to bring vibrancy again to that site. People are going to be driving by like, what's going on over at Eastland?
Right.
Let me pull in and see what's going on. Or next weekend, we should go there, right? So it's going to drive that type of activity and vibrancy that Eastland hadn't seen in quite some time. And I think that part is truly major. And, I remember when Eastland Mall was going through bankruptcy and the city purchased that site, right? And for years, the citizens of the East Side have been wanting something there. Well, this is that final puzzle piece that will bring vibrancy, but also lets them know they're important to the community. The East Side is important. The rise of the East has started, and we're here. And I know Commissioner Jerrell is ready to jump in.
No, I'm sorry about the bit, man.
Go ahead. Get in here, Mark.
Listen. I mean, I think the Mayor Pro Tem summed it up perfectly. The only things that I would add to that is when you think about the Eastland site, it's actually reflective of the summit. In this way, you have multiple education sites on that property.
Mm-hmm.
It reflects the city and the county coming together from an investment perspective. We'll have a 5-acre park out there. It's an economic driver for the community. And again, we don't want to say, it's the end all be all, but it's certainly a catalyst that's really going to revitalize that area. It sends the right signal to an area of town that's really been underinvested in for so long. People have felt isolated. They felt left out of the conversations. And that's why we really come together, Julian, is because, again, it was a collaborative effort. It is a collaborative effort. And, we're going to continue to make sure that the East Side receives the investments that people deserve, that it's a great place for people to work, grow, and recreate. And we're really proud of the intergovernmental efforts on that site.
Now, I want to get Stephanie in here because I think so many times people think that the education starts and stops when kids enter the school and then they leave the school. But we know that it's holistic, right? It's not just what happens in the school building, having resources, parks, areas to go to. It's more than just a school. So what does having a site like this do to enrich our youth?
Yep. You're spot on, Julian. If you expect all development of children to happen from 8 to 3, then we're failing them. It is definitely a community effort. Sites like Eastland will have the opportunity for, frankly, families and communities to engage with each other. I was very impressed the other day. There was some CharlotteMecklenburg students that spoke at the Board of County Commission meetings, asking them to support parks. Right? So that's amazing. So and they were elementary age. They very much felt strongly we need more parks. We need our parks to be maintained because they need some place to go. Go to play, and learning happens through play as well. It happens from being in your environment. It happens to when you're interacting with other children that may not necessarily go to your school or live in your neighborhood. Eastland will be an opportunity for the convener of that and for recreation programs to come in of all different types, from different sports and the arts as well.
I do want to ask. I want to stay with Stephanie if y'all don't mind, because I think we all grew up in a time, right, where people played outside.
Yes.
Right? We went out, you knocked on your friend's door. It's like, hey, can Jimmy come out to play? Whatever, you meet at the park.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's changed now because there's so many different areas that kids can go to. They have their tablets, they have their cell phones, they have their gaming devices, but then also we had a global pandemic. And kids forgot how to talk to each other. So Stephanie, I'm going to come back to you, and I do want to ask, with these types of parks, is that something where we can bring that back to the youth?
Absolutely. I think there's a tremendous amount of opportunity there. But you're definitely spot on. What we're seeing in our schools is we are having, through our social and emotional learning, kind of massage and help children learn how to interact with each other in person and not necessarily through a device, because a lot of communication is happening through device, which can be good, but we also have seen the detriments of that as well. So to be able to speak with someone in person, to ask a child just to be able to come up and communicate with them and say, hey, do you want to play kickball or whatever game it is that children make up when they're outside and interacting with each other? It is an amazing opportunity for that development. And these things directly correlate and translate to academic performance. So don't think it is in vain, because when that whole child is developed, it definitely, you can see the results in academic performance.
Julian, can I add on to what Stephanie?
Certainly you can.
Stephanie is preaching in here.
Go
She's
ahead.
preaching the gospel, right? This is awesome. So, but one of the things I think about when I think about this Eastland site,
Right.
is I think about Queens Park. I grew up here, and Queens Park was one of those places. It was this huge arcade area. You can play. There were other games, and then of course there was a big movie theater. But I remember so many kids just being dropped off at at Queens Park. And you had to negotiate with people around playing games and just interacting. And it's that type of interaction that you don't get inside of school when you're going from class to class to class. And so I think that's another reason I think this Eastland site will be a convener, as Stephanie so eloquently said, not only for families, but for kids to be able to learn social interaction, right? And have those social skills that they might not be able to lean so much in school because they're focused on learning, right? The ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s. So this is about a holistic learning here for kids on the East Side and everywhere in the city can be able to access it.
Mark, I want to come to you in talking about that. Look, we just talked about the COVID pandemic and how that changed things. So bringing things back to East, where are we now? Because we're a little bit far removed. COVID may be in the rearview mirror for a lot of people. So where are we looking on the horizon in your new position? You're leading the county.
Yes.
So where are we looking?
Well, I'll tell you, there's a lot of uncertainty. One thing I can say from a county perspective that I'm really proud of is that, we've maintained a level of fiscal responsibility. We continue to provide services at unprecedented levels. But I will tell you candidly that what we see coming out of D.C., what we see coming out of Raleigh, it leaves a lot of uncertainty. And there is a downstream impact when you think about that level of uncertainty. And so I would say that Mecklenburg County remains strong. We have never had more collaboration with the city of Charlotte, our towns. But again, we know that there are a lot of people who are still vulnerable. We know that there are a lot of people that still need support. And that's why we do what we do.
So let's go ahead and go right there then. You talk about the uncertainty, and this affects everybody in this room. We're talking about, and we talked about this during the special, the end of DEI efforts, right? But we're also talking about the way Department of Education may change, the lack of funding. Stephanie, I know that affects you. When you hear from these people, what are their worries, and how do you guys as leaders navigate waters where you may not be sure that the funds that you were guaranteed from a national, federal level, and state level may not be there when it comes time to make the budget for next year?
Absolutely. For the Board of Education, these are the conversations that we've definitely been having. The superintendent has just made a recommendation to the board, and it has been approved by our board, and that presentation has been made to the county for their consideration as well. But really, frankly, we need folks to lean in. We need our state to lean in to support education in the way that it should be funded. Our budget focuses on people, because we know that the number one thing that we can do for students is to make sure there's a highly qualified teacher in front of every student in every classroom. But we can't just do that locally. We need support from our state as well. Our teachers, it costs $61,000 to be able to afford a studio 1-bedroom apartment. Our beginning teachers make $48,000. So we are in a state of emergency in that sense of that we need to make sure the people are in place to support our students. And again, I can't say it enough. Education is the indicator of and shapes communities and societies. So what happens with children in our schools has generational impacts. And so that's where the investment has to be made. So we will continue to push at CharlotteMecklenburg Schools and the Board of Education, and thankfully to the county that has averted funds to support our teachers for the past 2 years and fully fund our budget requests. But again, it's not enough. It is not enough. We rank 48th in teacher in funding, education funding, but North Carolina is third in the ability to pay. So we gotta, face these realities and provide support and funding where it's needed.
Hey, Julian, can I jump in real quick?
Sure.
Because you referenced DEI, and one of the things that I would say is I think what we're all grappling with right now is this idea of the language that we've used and we've become accustomed to. But I want the community to understand that while we may have to change language, we may have to tweak it, we're not going to change our values. We're not going to tweak our values. I think board members, council members, board members from the school board and the county our values remain strong. We know that there's inequity within our community, within society, and we're going to continue to do what we need to do to level the playing field for our most vulnerable. So I know a lot of times people are hung up on the language and what we have to do, but we're a government. We have to adjust. We have to adjust, and we're going to make the right adjustments, but we're not going to adjust our values. And I just wanted to make sure that we pointed that out.
And I will say at CharlotteMecklenburg Schools, Dr. Hill which is repeated from top to down, makes the statements of excellence without exception.
Mm-hmm.
It's excellent without exception. That's every student. So we have to meet every student, regardless of socioeconomic background, regardless of health or disability, regardless of race, that we have goals specifically for every student to succeed. Our board members, Dr. Hill and staff, are absolutely committed to that. And it is something that we monitor, we look at. We are looking at performance of our students and the well-being of our students every single board meeting. We get a report about it. So the commitment is there. So that is one of the things that should not necessarily be a worry in a community, but that when I tell you that these staff members and these teachers are dedicated to these children, it is evident when you walk our halls.
Yeah. And, something that Stephanie just said a little bit earlier takes it back to the East, right? Because she talked about that teacher who has to be able to earn a wage that they can live in the city of Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
Takes it back to the affordable housing aspect, right? That's the A in the East, affordable housing. And so we have to focus on education like we just discussed. But that underpinning of that is that we have to have diverse, affordable housing stock that everyone, regardless of where they sit on the economic spectrum, they can access safe, affordable housing. So the city is doing great work with that. The county is doing great work with that. We're working intergovernmentally on a teacher village concept that CMS started, and all three of our government, municipal government bodies are supporting that effort. But I just wanted to take it back to that interconnectivity, right? Yeah. Education, you need a safe place to stay. Then you need to be able to get to the places where you need to go to work and the places where you want to play. That's the T, that's the transportation, right? And so it's all connected.
I'm just going to say, Danté may take my job because she's doing a better job moderating than I am. Let me bring it all back here. What are we in this room for? Okay, Danté. But
my bad.
No. Take my job. I might need to take that pocket stuff, but you can take my job. No, but I do want to talk about something that we were talking about with affordable housing, because one of the things that we've seen when we cover some of our homeless population here is that people talk about how do we get these people back on their feet, right? And you hit the nail on the head, because so many people, why can't people just go get a job, right? Why can't people get off of whatever substance they're abusing? But they don't understand the importance of having a place where you can even send a paycheck to, a safe place where you can go home. It's like, okay, this is my safe place that I don't have bad actors around. So when we're talking about affordable housing, and everybody, I don't need to stress this, everybody knows where mortgage prices are at. Everybody knows where inflation is at. How do we tackle that? And you kind of touched on it. How do we tackle the affordable housing, and what will that do to address some of the issues that people have in this county and in the city?
Yeah, it's a big issue. It's a complex issue. But that's why I talked about the mix. We have to have a mix of housing stock. Some people might be ready to purchase a home, and they've done all of that work and the readiness to be prepared to do so. Some people might be transitioning, right? Either from being off the street, being unhoused, and they need some safe, stabilized housing that they can afford, perhaps at an entry-level job. Then you have our civil servants, you have our teachers, you have everyone in the middle. Mm-hmm. And so we have to be able to make sure, regardless of what you earn, there's an opportunity to access housing. And in order to do so, that means you have to make sure there's a mix of stock, right? Rental stock, 1, 2, 3 bedrooms. But also one of the things we're focused on for the city of Charlotte is, we have our housing trust fund. And we just approved a layer of funds, about $30 million, that brought a mix of units on. But one is housing for sale, right? Because we know that is an opportunity to start to build intergenerational wealth. And so we have increased our housing for sale stock, our goal, by double. What last year was 10%, now it's over 25%. And then we in the county also have down payment assistance programs, ways to help people get into these units. And so it's important to do that work across the board.
Danté, can we hop in right there when you're talking about making it affordable and the down payment assistance, because that's something that not a lot of people think that is attainable for them, right? They may not think that they can have the dream of being a homeowner, right? Especially with the prices that they are. Mark, for you, how important is that for the county to be able to make sure that people, okay, you can realize that dream here, and this can be a Charlotte-Mecklenburg County where you can stay in and not have, feel like you have to move somewhere else because you can no longer to afford the place that your parents, your grandparents grew up in.
Yeah, no, it's critical. It's really important. But I'll tell you, the reality is, without a comprehensive strategy that is being deployed out of D.C., right? We need a comprehensive national strategy around affordable housing. That way, downstream, we can get and collect those benefits. So it has to start at the national level, trickle down to the states, and then to local government. And right now, we don't have that strategy. So you've got local entities. Essentially, it's bubblegum and shoestring, essentially, which is tough. Even with the city's $100 million housing trust fund, it still is a drop in a bucket when you juxtapose that to the need. Mm-hmm. And so it is very, very important that we have diverse options for people. That generational wealth, that the ability to build that is vitally important. And, we've got to continue to push on the federal level to make sure that we get the downstream benefits.
Well, look, I know we don't have time limits per se on here, but I know you guys are all very important officials and you guys got schedules to adhere to, and I'm pushing on 30 minutes with you guys. So I'm going to do this. I want everybody, if we can, kind of do a round table. I'll give you guys kind of 30 seconds. Let's hit on East again, what you want people to get out of this, and give your last time pitch for residents to show up. Danté, you're the best dressed in here, so I'm going to let you go last here.
Start with the chairman.
I am. No, you know what, Chair? I'll let you go first, man. Go ahead, I had to get one more joke in, but Chairman, go ahead and make your pitch.
We got two chairs. What chair are we talking about?
It's true.
Chairman. Not chairwoman.
Chairman.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Chairman. Okay. All right. Well, I'll tell you, one of the things that we didn't touch on, and I want to stress this, is that we will have community leaders leading the discussions during our summit. And I think that's so important for us to recognize those leaders, allow them in a space where they can lead. This is an opportunity to hear voices from all over our districts. We want to hear from you. We want to implement. We want to learn. And then we want to be able to implement. So please come out, join us. We are so excited. Thanks so much for having us, Julia.
Of course, Chairwoman.
Well, I just want to, I think, chairperson here of the BOCC, he summed it up well. But I will say that you can see how we having a good time in here.
Right.
That's what the summit is.
That's
right.
Exactly right.
That's what's very different about it. It is not just the boring talking heads. Mm-hmm. People have formed relationships, friendships, partnerships by coming to the summit. Like, it is really a good time, and it goes by so fast. People look up and say, oh, it's over already. And then they're pressing us like, when is the next one? When is the next one? But I tell you, I promise you'll learn, you'll laugh, and you'll lunch a little bit.
There we go.
And so maybe I hit the 3 S's. So it'll be a good time.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem, it's on you.
Hey, my colleagues have done it. They've killed it. I would say we've been focused on the rise of the East for years, and the time for the East is now. So we have to focus on education, not only for our kids, but for our cousins and our siblings that need opportunity to earn better wages. So they need that workforce development. We need more affordable housing. We need to hear from the community about what their needs are. We need to understand what we can do individually to drive safety in our community. Safety does not equal CMPD alone. It takes the entire community to circle the wagons to create a safe environment. And if you think we are going to be a world-class city without having a complex multimodal transportation system, you're dead wrong. We're the 14th largest city in the United States of America. We're only going to continue to grow because the secret is out. People know about the Queen City. People know about Charlotte. So we have to embrace that growth with a complex transportation mobility system.
Look, if anybody is wondering, can all branches of government work together? Can people work across different? Let this be a testament to it, and also let this be a testament that government can also work with media and have a good time. I appreciate that. That's right. I appreciate the candid conversations, y'all. It really is refreshing to be able to talk to you guys, not within I got a camera and a microphone, I only got 30 seconds of your time. I appreciate it, and I hope people come out to East again. Saturday, May 17th, 9:30 to 11:30 is the summit, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., the Mobile Resource Fair at the Bojangles Coliseum and Ovens Auditorium. Again, I appreciate the conversation, guys. And I think I've gotten all y'all hooked on, so you guys are going to come back soon, right?
Absolutely. We're here.
Absolutely.
Boom. That's the way we make it happen. Again, for Queen City News Plus, I'm Julian Sadur. You should see all of these government officials Saturday, May 17th. We'll sign out. Julian Sadur from Queen City News here. If you enjoyed watching this content, be sure to download and watch our full series of Queen City News Plus originals on our app. You can find Queen City News Plus using your streaming devices, including Roku, Amazon Fire Stick, and Apple TV. Just search the name Queen City News Plus. Your support will help us continue our series. Thanks for watching.